Okay, so the review of Maple Run in Thurmont, Maryland. Maple Run is basically a neighborhoods course. It's more of an open course than a wooded neighborhoods course. I'd say about 2/3 of the holes are open, and you will see houses, if not playing, next to houses or playing towards houses on 2/3 of the course. And the other third is more of a traditional woods course layout and atmosphere. And even of those, I think one of them is just really rustic. Really, it's a dogleg left where you're playing maybe a 350-yard dogleg left, and the only thing you really have to go in for is a set of yard markers. You can see the gold and the white and the blue and red white yard markers, and you have to follow them to get to the green. That's pretty much how it works. So I think, with the exception of maybe, I think this is a decent enough course, though it is kind of crude in a sense. It didn't really have black tees. I chose to just stick to the blue tees, and I think it was still a fairly decent length. Maybe a little bit short, but not too short. So what I really think is that the course has been overcut. It is a reasonable length given the width of the fairway and rough, but the rough is too short. It has almost no grab. There's almost no retention of the ball. It's like maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches. It's like a lawn. It's like if you went out and cut your lawn. That's what the rough is like here. And on top of that, the greenskeepers, when I played, were cutting it even further. And I'm like, why are they cutting? I don't know if they're cutting it or just trimming it or whatever. But they had just too much equipment out there in the front side for the whole time that I played the front side, cutting a course that didn't need to be cut. It was almost surreal. And I have to give it some strikes for that, both on green in terms of the greenkeeper fouling, also the overzealous greenskeeping of the course. It just isn't that much of a course to be getting into it too much in terms of greenskeeping. You're not going to save it by you're not going to make this kind of course better by cutting it more. It has some fundamental flaws that you don't address by cutting it. All that does is make it shorter for people who hit into the rough, and that's a clear statement. But certainly on the number 9 fairway, you're playing right down a row of houses. There's almost nothing between the rough and a line of back decks. Traditional problem. They could be worse. They could be closer to the fairway, but they're not. There is some room between the fairway and those back decks. The funny thing is, the closer you get to the green, the less room there is until you break back down the hill that leads down to the green. I had a fair amount of enjoyment playing the course. I had little, if any, trouble with the length, even from the blue tees. I really wasn't that much trouble. Wasn't too tight. Really none of the holes were too tight for me. They didn't have any trouble. I just think that the course shows some neglect on the backside, and certainly it is overcut. It's a good drive up there to Thurmont. It's no more than 2 hours from downtown DC. I think it was a good outing, escape to Thurmont kind of thing. I took the back roads up there. The one thing I have to say is the clubhouse is a disaster. It is essentially a cart shack, okay? It's like you took the cart shack for a regular clubhouse, and it's an old cart shack too, okay? And you put on an addition, or maybe even a small addition in front to the side of that cart shack that has a small office / cashier's box, a couple of small bathrooms, and a small hot dog sandwich room, stand or space, really small. And then, okay, do this in 1956, and barely, if ever, clean it, barely, if ever, upgrade it, and it was just not attractive, not at all. Like a small card table for a dining area, or whatever. right across from the bathrooms. It was nothing that I would want to say was anything more than a decent place to buy beer and pay for your round. In terms of the clubhouse, it was really bad, and it was probably the worst clubhouse I've ever seen on any golf course that I played in the DC area. But the course was decent. It had some decent holes, decent shots. It was fun, no question. I give the course a solid B, ignoring the groundskeeper fouling and ignoring the clubhouse. Okay, it is a decent course. It is not impressive, but it's decent. If you throw the clubhouse in, that isn't going to give it anything more than a C+, believe me. And if you throw the greenskeeper fouling in, I'd have to say C to C-. It was a mixed bag, but there were a few goodies in there. The course is a decent course to play, and if you put up with the rest and just kind of don't take it too seriously, it's okay. It's okay. C+, B-. C+ probably more than anything else. It's not that great, but it's okay. I can't say it's bad, but it's not impressive. It's okay. And I've seen worse. I've seen less interesting courses. I've seen courses in a lot worse shape than this. Montclair, for instance, some of the holes in Montclair are just in bad shape. There was nothing like that here. Clearly it wasn't overgrown. Clearly it wasn't overgrown with waste. Clearly the rough wasn't too long. The course wasn't shaggy. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. It was okay. No more. That's Maple Run Golf Course in Thurmont, Maryland. Okay, well, you might ask, why did I pick this course in the first place? Well, the answer is fairly simple. It was the largest hot deal discount that I saw that was a reasonable length and difficulty, and I say that only because it wasn't marked in terms of length or difficulty, but it was so far out of town, out of DC. It was up in Thurmont, up in the mountains, that I figured it wasn't going to be short. I mean, there was a good chance. I figured this was a good chance that this was going to be a disaster, and I would end up playing another round today to make up for it. I might get in Black Rock or something like that up in the area, but no. By about the fourth hole, I was getting my workout in, and I knew it was long enough, and I was contented with playing that course that day. I was not going to play another course. That course it's decent. It's you're not going to be impressed with the course, okay? Believe me, but it's not bad. It's an average course that has a few good spins. I won't even say holes. I'll say spins. Most of the holes are actually pretty decent. Just not great. They're decent.